Look, I'll be honest, throughout the years I've made plenty of videos on 8 passengers, and within them videos I've said myself, and you guys have said in the comments, I wonder what it's going to be like when the kids get old enough to realise what's going on, when they become adults and they kind of have a voice of their own and they can speak out against the parents. Like, will they actually do that? And to be honest, I didn't think it was really a possibility. I mean, we've seen it so many times in the past where people just grow up in really negative environments and they are almost brainwashed to think a certain way, even if 99% of the population thinks that's a negative way of thinking. Because they've been raised in that, they're gonna think that. Well, it seems like this situation in particular couldn't be any further away from that, because in today's video alone, we're gonna be talking about Ruby's siblings still coming out and speaking out publicly against Ruby, but also Ruby's own daughter Shari has came out and spoke out against Ruby. Like, I didn't think this was going to happen, but it has, so let's get into it. But before we get any further, I always forget to ask you guys to subscribe, so if you do like what you see, please do it. It'd make me day. So just in case you need a recap where we stand with the whole 8 passengers series that seems to be going on here, it started off with a few videos talking about how the 8 passengers parents are raising their kids in what seems like a very negative way. This included taking one of their kids' beds away for 7 months because they played a prank on their sibling. This included taking away their kids' Christmas presents whilst the other kids could open their Christmas presents in front of them to try and teach them a lesson. This included not giving their kids food at lunch because they forgot to pack their own lunch at the age of 6. And that's only scraping the bare minimum to the problems that people have with Ruby and Kevin's parenting. But recently this became more than that, because Ruby, the mother, and one of her friends, or colleagues now I guess, Geordie Hillbrand, created a Facebook group called Mums of Truth where they give advice to mothers. Which was already a recipe for disaster when you bear in mind everything we've just mentioned, but it was even worse than we could imagined, because the advice they were giving these mothers was genuinely dangerous. They would say things like you should change your children if they are gay, or if they are trans, or if they just don't follow living in truth as they call it. They said people don't have a right to medical care, which already is fucking mental. They've even given advice on how you can just be more controlling with your kids, not giving them any privacy, saying that they're not allowed to have any privacy, telling them what shows they can watch, what devices they can use, who they can be friends with, just everything. But within the last couple of weeks there's been a bunch of rumours that Ruby Franke and Kevin Franke had actually separated, and Kevin had moved out of the house, as well as Chad, which is their son. Now after these rumours started doing the rounds, a bunch of people were going to Kevin's Instagram and DMing him and asking him if it's true, to which he ended up deactivating his Instagram, this being after he unfollowed the Mums of Truth page on Instagram. Also, if you look at past and present videos of Ruby, she would previously be wearing her wedding ring, she doesn't wear it anymore. And then we also have Shari, which is Ruby and Kevin's daughter, who actually has recently moved out and started living her adult life. Well, recently she took 8 passengers out of her name on Instagram, she unfollowed Donald Trump, and then followed a bunch more liberal pages on Instagram, which just goes against Ruby's views. And then on top of that, we had Ruby's own siblings coming out publicly and expressing their thoughts on Connections as a group. So as you can see, this Connections group, or this Mums of Truth group, whatever you want to call it, seems to have separated the family quite a lot, and you can't really say it's surprising because the stuff they talk about on that page is so dangerous and just downright disgusting. Now, a lot of people think the big reason why this happened is because of Ruby's partner, or whatever you want to call her, the person who runs the page with her, Geordie Hillbrand, is a very, very sketchy human being. She's a marriage counsellor who has a lot of negative reviews from a bunch of people dating back as far as 8 years, so she's been doing this for a while, and it got that bad that Geordie nearly got a license took off her permanently and was put on an 18-month probation period where she had to be overlooked when she was talking to clients. This being because she has a reputation of trying to ruin marriages instead of trying to help people. She'll make the marriage seem a lot worse than it is, make up rumours, make up lies to try and get you to book more appointments because you need her help more. But that's a recap sorted. So what has happened since my last video? So for a while we have known that Ruby's side of the family, which is Kevin and her kids, haven't been speaking to Ruby's siblings and their kids. But since this drama kicked off over the last couple of weeks, Shari, Ruby's daughter, and Ellie and Bonnie, who are Ruby's siblings, have actually re-followed each other. So it seems like Shari is trying to kind of rekindle things with Ruby's side of the family. And on top of that, Shari actually unfollowed the Mums of Truth account, which was quite a big deal because Shari was actually involved in the group when it was kind of first starting and would ask for advice, but now clearly has a very negative opinion on the group, which we will see a lot more clear towards the end of the video. But then we move to Kevin, who was actually removed as a mod on the Facebook page, and also Geordie actually posted a video on the Facebook page where she's answering a question by a person who studies at BYU, which is actually where Kevin works at. But Geordie kind of goes out of her way to mention that people who work at BYU should have this responsibility of living in truth.
Listen to my language closely. The people who choose to attend and the people who choose to teach at Brigham Young University also have committed and promised to live in truth, which means to live principles such as honesty, responsibility, and humility. And so here is this person saying, I'm at this institution and I'm not finding people who are living principles of truth. I attended Brigham Young University and I remember feeling that same way, not being able to find students or faculty who actually lived and used their agency according to principles.
And I know she doesn't say anything directly about Kevin, but firstly, why does she mention people who work at BYU when that was never part of the question at all? And secondly, why would she mention people who work at BYU in a negative way when she knows that Ruby, who is her partner on this page, her husband works at BYU? I don't know, to me, the more I hear Geordie and what she has to say, it becomes a lot more possible that she has kind of brainwashed Ruby in a way, and she is kind of like the kingpin of this all, and Ruby is almost her puppet, and she is enjoying watching his family tear to pieces. Like, that doesn't surprise me. But let's move on to Ruby's sister, Bonnie, who actually recently uploaded a video whilst this drama was kind of like at its peak, where everyone was talking about it and what's happened with the families. She released a video called I Said It Was Okay to Cry on the Internet, where she doesn't directly mention Ruby, but to me, it seems like she almost insinuates that something is clearly going on.
There's a talk that goes over those that struggle with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and this talk really, I don't know, it brings a little bit of peace even in just the fact that you're not alone in it. It brings some comfort in the fact of it's okay to get help. And you should get help the same way. And my mom once said this, and I thought it was so beautiful. She said, if you struggle with mental illness, you should get the medication that is going to help you, because the same way someone that is diabetic needs their medication.
Which is very interesting, because clearly Bonnie's views on mental health are very, very different to Ruby and Geordie's. If you remember, Ruby almost blamed people in a video who were feeling anxious or felt like they were depressed, and saying it was their choice to feel that way. And Bonnie also mentions medication, which is interesting because Ruby has spoke up negatively about medication many times in the past. She has said that people don't have a right to medical care. She has also made a video responding to a mother who was talking about her daughter being prescribed antidepressants by her doctor, and she is wondering, is this okay whilst living in truth? To which Ruby answers the question by saying that there are a bunch of other ways that you can help this scenario by just living in truth.
She was able to manage her emotions without using medication, and she was able to manage it instead by using principles of truth.
Which is obviously mental, because if you've been prescribed antidepressants by a doctor, like a professional, it's obviously for a reason. Like, I would trust them over Ruby fucking Franke. Now, another thing I found interesting in Bonnie's video is that she makes sure to say that if you are going to get help, you need to speak to someone reputable.
It's very important to go to someone reputable, someone that's licensed, and get some good help, because the help that's out there is not created equal, so find someone good and reputable.
Yeah, even the way she just mentioned that the person should be licensed. Like, I don't know if Ruby's ever been licensed or if she's ever tried to be licensed, but Geordie nearly had a license took off her permanently, and like I said earlier in the video, had an 18-month probation period where she had to be overlooked talking to clients because the way she manipulated people and lied about people behind their back and tried to ruin their lives and tried to ruin their marriage goes against everything that she should be as a counsellor.
Because we all deserve love, then nobody should have to earn it.
Now, of course, it's possible that Bonnie isn't talking about Ruby and Geordie here, but I mean, if the shoe fits, right? Like she just said there, everyone deserves love no matter what, which couldn't be any further away from what Geordie and Ruby have been saying over the last few months. In fact, they've made a massive effort to do the complete opposite. They've been giving advice to mothers on a Facebook page, telling them that they should try and change their children if they're trans, or if they're gay, or if just anything they do is against living in truth. But now we get to the most damning piece of information that actually just happened a day ago, and it involves Ruby and Kevin's Jordan's daughter, Shari. So a massive Facebook post was made from someone who knows Ruby's family personally, and she is worried about them, which we will later get into. But this post in particular is talking about the Mums of Truth page, the Connections page, and goes into Geordie and Ruby personally and how what they are doing is wrong. In all fairness, Geordie appears to have started off her career with noble intentions, but those intentions are all called into question by past and current professional peers whom I've sought insight from, who see her methods and manners as emotionally and mentally detrimental, even abusive. Her license was revoked for a time due to violating client confidentiality. Ruby, who is known by many for her role as a YouTube influencer and a person trying to help families succeed at home, is a gifted and intelligent woman, but something has changed. For example, Geordie and Ruby seem to think themselves synonymous with truth, all was written with a capital T, which makes it appear that there is some type of god complex going on, and this gives off the warning signs of a cult-like mentality. Geordie and Ruby frequently make judgments about a situation without knowing or seeking to know enough of the details, and have been known to reflect truth by saying, "I feel sorry for you. It is obvious that you are lost. Your anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies are a result of not taking responsibility for your feelings. Your children have no right to privacy. I recommend you kick your daughter out of your home for her rudeness and take her off your health insurance, regardless of her serious heart condition, etc." The tone and way these mothers treat people and give advice commonly goes against nearly every principle taught in professional psychology, counselling, teaching, even most religious teachings, and mentoring. It is painful to watch and heart-wrenching to read about, knowing that desperate or faithful followers may very well follow this frightening counsel. I feel obligated to warn those investigating Connections or Mums of Truth to be aware that these women have become master manipulators, who are expert at pulling vulnerable individuals in, making them doubt themselves, their spouses, children, siblings, etc., until they one day realise their own family relationships have disintegrated. Please look closely at the current lives and families of many of those involved and talk to their family members, immediate and extended, before jumping into any counselling or training with them. Now obviously this post is very strongly worded, especially when you get towards the end where she's mentioning Ruby and Geordie being master manipulators who are basically trying to ruin lives, and I mean, it's hard to disagree, isn't it? But what makes this a lot more interesting is that the top comment is from Shari Franke herself, saying, "Thank you for your courage and wise counsel." So this is Shari, who is Ruby's own daughter, commenting on a post that is very negative towards her own mother, and she's speaking out of support for the person making the post. Now I can't even imagine how hard it must be to go against your own mother so publicly because of her negative actions, and the fact that she's done that, this just proves how bad this situation's got. And in fact, it's not just Shari either, because 5 of Ruby's own relatives liked this post on Facebook, like they're speaking out against Ruby as well. And on top of that, the person who originally made this post commented underneath saying, "I have been a client of individual coaching as well as taking one of Geordie's courses. I also have a connection to part of Ruby's family. I'm extremely sad and worried for them all." So this is a person who has contacted Ruby's family, has spoke to them privately, I'm assuming, and feels so worried about the situation that she has took it upon herself to speak publicly and make a post on Facebook, a big essay by the way, like not just like a half-assed post, going against Ruby and Geordie. Like, it's clear to see that this Connections or Mums of Truth group has tore the family to pieces. I mean, we have the possibility that Kevin and Ruby have now broke up, we have Shari speaking out publicly against her own mother, we have a bunch of siblings joining in, speaking out publicly against their own sibling. Like, clearly this has divided the group, and maybe Geordie has a massive part to play in this. But either way, that's all the information I have for now. I would love to know your thoughts down below about everything that I mentioned in today's video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you are new as well, if you did enjoy the video. And yeah, I guess until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.